Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. It's officially the first hump day of 2019. Woo, woo, woo. And I am so excited. It's such a good time such a good time to be alive. I'm feeling full of the joys of spring. I'm really excited about 2019. 2018 was a little bit of a weird year for most people. And so I know that everybody has been looking forward to 2019 and just getting on with things, building the business that they really want in 2019 instead of feeling like they're stuck or beholden to something that isn't serving them anymore. So that is what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to give you a swift motivational moment in our usual 10-minute Wednesday fashion, all about being who you really are. And I think that this is really important. It's an important topic, I feel, for me to touch on for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, that selling is all about authenticity. It's all about building relationships. And that's very hard to do when people are not being themselves. It's very hard to do when people are putting on some kind of persona. But the other element to that is that recently, over the Christmas holidays, I have been watching Benidorm Series 10. Now, you might not know this about me, but I think that this particular TV series, if you're in the US, you're missing out. It's hilarious. It's basically a TV show that is set in a holiday resort in Benidorm. And Benidorm has typically been hailed as one of Europe's kind of tacky holiday destinations. And so it really is, people kind of wearing their socks and sandals and, getting really drunk all the time and perhaps being a little non-PC, and some of the jokes are a little bit close to the bone on occasion. But nevertheless, it's actually a really funny program, and I have watched all 10 series because, hello, Christmas Netflixing binge, thank you very much. So I spent some time watching Benidorm and thinking about how this program has been managing to go for 10 years, despite the fact that it contains things that, in all honesty, had it been brought out this year, probably people would have gone, oh my goodness, that's really offensive to millennials, or that's really offensive to, people who want to go on holiday in kind of, can we say Eurotrash? Like, is that still a thing? I remember in the 90s, Eurotrash was a thing, and it was all like, it was quite a positive thing, but let's roll with it for now. So it would have been deemed fairly offensive had it come out this year, and indeed there are some things that it contains that I do find offensive, but there are more things in it that I find funny. And I started thinking about, well, why is it that this program is so popular? Like, why has it lasted? And I came to this conclusion that the reason that it had lasted was not that it's got a particularly famous cast, which is one of the reasons that series tend to do quite well. It wasn't that they'd spent big budgets on it, or that it had particularly special graphics or anything, because Lord knows they shoot it in one hotel in Benidorm and have done for the last 10 years. And I don't think the costs are that high. They're not recreating Lord of the Rings or anything. And then finally, it doesn't have that kind of like 5-star quality to it. Like, the filming quality is fine. It's fine to watch, but you look at the kind of trailer, or you look at the intro music and things like that kind of welcomes the TV show, and you think, yeah, it's fine. But it's not, it's not 5-star. And so it kind of made me think about, well, why do people love it so much? And it's developed this cult following over the years. And there are reasons behind that. One is the fact that it doesn't try to be 5-star. Like we've just talked about, the intro music is fine, and the introduction itself is all fine, but it's not, it's not perfect. It's not an HD by any means. But actually people like that because it sets their expectations and meets them. And that's great, you know. And we talk about it's created this huge culture behind it, even though it's a little bit offensive, and even though it's not necessarily a 5-star movie cast. And it's because it shows the reality of humanity, right? The great thing about Benidorm as a program is that it doesn't try and be anything else. And there's a fantastic episode, and I can't remember which season it is, but there is a fantastic episode where a new manageress takes over this hotel, and it's supposed to be like a 3-star, family-friendly, budget, all-inclusive hotel, and people just go there, they drink beer at like 8:30 in the morning, you know, they have the traditional fry-up, all that kind of stuff, the kind of holiday that everyone has been on. And this new manageress comes in, she wants to impress her boss. So she's like, right, okay, we're going to try and get 5 stars for our hotel rating. And she works really hard, and she, you know, she goes through and she really tries to sweet talk the person that she thinks is the hotel reviewer. She puts them in the penthouse suite. She, you know, gets them different cocktails made and all this kind of, it makes a lot of effort. And they eventually do get the 5-star review, although not in the way that they were expecting. I don't want to put spoilers in for anyone who now wants to go and watch it. And her boss comes in and is furious. And she says, but Crystal, you know, we're now a 5-star establishment, and, you know, it's really exciting. And the woman says, but what do we do? And the manageress says, we do budget. And she said, yeah. And when you have 5 stars, you set an expectation. Suddenly there has to be all of this other stuff. You have to have the spa, you have to have the, you know, silver service at dinner, you have to have the waiters. And we are budget and we are proud. And it's things like that that make me realize that sometimes in the online space, we don't always think about who we are. Now, I don't mean think about whether or not you're budget or whether you're premium. That's not the point we're driving at today. But in terms of, are you setting the expectations of your audience and matching them? Or are you trying to be somebody else? And we've often seen this. And if you tune in to next week's guest episode with the amazing Ali Brown, you will get to hear a little bit more about it. We see this often in the online space, because we see everybody, you know, there was a spate a few years ago of female coaches. They all had to go to Paris, and they all had to have Eiffel Tower photo shoots, and they all had to have perfect hair, you know, and be kind of Marie Forleo-esque, and nobody could swear. And there are all these rules. And so everyone was being, you know, who they thought they had to be. But the people who were always making the money were not the people who were following along blindly. They weren't the people who were having necessarily the Eiffel Tower photo shoots, you know, or the 50th person in line to have one. They were the trendsetters. They were the leaders. They were the people who stepped out from the masses and said, yeah, okay, I'm going to put my head above the parapet. I'm just going to be who I am. You know, and it was the people who, you know, some of them dropped the F-bomb in their copy. Some of them refused to have photo shoots altogether. Cough, that was me. Some of them had completely different websites or had completely different messages. Some of them tried to work with corporate companies and bring in their own ways and means of working. Some of them developed different formulas and different processes that would actually help people get better results. And it was those people who just showed up and who were unapologetic about who they were and being who they are that made the most money, because they became the most relatable. Okay? They became the people who, yes, they're human. They are flawed. They may have imperfections. They may not get it right all of the time. But that's okay, because their customers were cheering them on for everything that they didn't do, for everything that they, you know, that they didn't have perfectly. They had 10 raving fans who would go out and tell them that that was the person who rocked their world, and that everybody needed to hire them because they were relatable, because they weren't trying to be anything other than who they were, and because they were going out and taking imperfect action and making waves in the industry, and they were okay with that. And they were also okay with being unapologetic about wanting true authenticity in the market. And actually, that is what sells. We look for companies who are authentic, and authentic inherently means polarizing. Because when you are being you and you're not worried about, is this diplomatic enough? Am I pleasing everyone? Is everyone going to be okay with this? You know, what if somebody doesn't like it? How will I prepare for that person? How will I make it okay for that person? When you're showing up unapologetically and you are being authentic, you will polarize people. You will not be for everybody. And what that means is that you will command more sales, because it's not your job to be everything to everyone. It is your job to shout loud with your message, your unique message, so that your people, your eccentric, introverted wine drinkers, as I said at Ypreneur, can find you. And that's what's important. I hope you are having a wonderful start to the new year, that you are enjoying your post-New Year's Day hangover moment, and that you're ready to rock next week. This week on Friday, we have the amazing Jay Bayer on the podcast talking all things talk triggers. It is going to be phenomenal. So make sure you don't miss out and start 2019 in the way that you mean to go on. Authentic, making money, doing the work. I'll see you in the next episode.